All right, welcome back yet again. We are going to do something a little bit different. Usually I do hands-on, but I had some students reach out and they're like, I'm trying to pass some certifications. I always tell my college students by the time they get done with their bachelor's degree, they should have at least 3 certifications. And they always ask me which 3 should I have. The first one I always recommend is Network Plus. And the reason I recommend Network Plus is because if you're trying to get into cybersecurity, having that base knowledge of networking really will get you far, especially in the IT world. Inevitably, somebody always asks me, they're like, "Well, what about A plus? What about A plus?" And my next answer to that is, why would you waste your time with A plus? I know that I know some people disagree with me. That's my own thoughts and feelings. I just don't feel like A plus is a worthwhile certification, to be honest. If you're trying to get into cybersecurity, it's great if you're trying to do IT. It's great if you're moving towards that field. If you're like, I want to be an IT help desk guy, or if I want to build a computer, I mean, A plus has its place, right? But it's definitely not something that I would pick on my top 3. Inevitably, Network Plus is the one that I recommend most students during their sophomore year of college. The next one is Security Plus. Security Plus is like the baseline certificate that you need in cybersecurity, and I usually recommend that one to be done before they graduate with their junior year, before they're done with their junior year. And Security Plus really isn't that difficult of a certification. Matter of fact, I honestly think that Network Plus is a more difficult certification than Security Plus, but I mean, you have to take it from me. I work in security, right? And then finally, the third one that I usually recommend is Cybersecurity Analyst, CYSA Plus. Now, you'll notice that all 3 of those are CompTIA. And the reason I recommend CompTIA is because they're vendor neutral. There's a lot of great things to it. And I don't think that you need to have hands-on near as much as you do with Cisco, which inevitably I always get from a student also is, well, what about Cisco's CCNA, or how does that compare? And I have to ask why. Why would you put forth the extra effort to get CCNA when the chances are that most companies don't have Cisco-only equipment? And in most cases, unless you're going to interview with a position that is specifically Cisco-based, specifically all about Cisco, then why would you go after a Cisco networking certification when Network Plus will be just as good? That's just my own thoughts and feelings. I'm sure that other people have different opinions about it, but that's my thoughts. With that said, we're going to do practice questions today. We're going to go through them. We're going to ask them. I'm going to give you some time to answer said question, and then from there, we will tear apart a question and we will figure out why the answer is the answer. That's the goal today, is to learn and to figure out how to pass these exams. I'll try to put one of these out at least once a week, and we'll see what we can do. I'm going to do all 3. We're going to do Network Plus, Security Plus, and CYSA. Today is all about Network Plus. We'll go with that, and then let's just get started. Let's jump right into it. I've got a PowerPoint here because professor, PowerPoints, right? I mean, that's what we do. We do PowerPoints. We kill you with them. All right, let's put some ground rules here before we get started. I really want you to not use Google, right? Let's go through this. I want you to take a best guess at it. Remember, go with your gut decision. Remember, we don't learn from our successes. We learn from our failures, and that's the reason we do practice exams, right? So go with your gut feeling. Go with what you know. If you don't know the answer, take a guess, because just like any type of certification or even college exam, if you don't answer, you get a 0. You get a 100% chance of getting a 0 if you don't answer the question. That is the true on your certification exam as well. So we always want to answer those questions. And then I'll show you some methods that I utilize as we're going through this to answer some of these questions if you don't know the answer. Or maybe you kind of know, but you're not sure. Let's go through this. Let's get started. Question number 1, which of the following protocols is used for secure remote login to a network device? What do you think? I'm going to give you about 20 seconds. And just like my classroom, I'm just going to talk to myself, because when I ask my students, they just look at me like glazed over their eyes, like they're afraid to say anything, right? All right, so I'm sure that some of my students are laughing at me because they know that's how it is sometimes. All right, let's answer this. Let's answer this, okay? If you need to, before I jump into this, right, if you need to at any point during the questions, if I didn't give you enough time, right, I want you to pause the video. Just pause it. I mean, you have the capability. You can just pause it, right? And I want you to get used to answering these questions within 30 to 45 seconds. 30 to 45. That's all the time you have per question, okay? If you can do that, you'll be fine on your time management for your certification exam. All right, so which of the following protocols is used for secure remote login to a network device? You'll notice that it provides you a lot of acronyms. That's right, acronyms are the bane of certification exams, and they expect you to know them. So let's get with the first two. Let's do the 50-50 methodology. 50-50 methodology is where we get rid of two of them right off the bat. We know that it's not HTTP, right? HTTP is a network login, hypertext transfer protocol. It is not going to be HTTP. So if you guessed HTTP, now's your opportunity to second guess yourself. I'll give you a second for that. Not HTTP. That's the internet traffic. Not FTP, file transfer protocol. We are not going to use FTP. If you answered that one, I'm afraid that is incorrect. That leaves us with Telnet and SSH, both of which provide you remote login to a network device. Secure Shell and Telnet both allow you to do that. However, Secure Shell, just like it sounds, that is a secure remote login to a network device, where Telnet is very much not secure. That's going to make our answer C. C is going to be the correct answer on this one. There you go. There it is for you. SSH would be the correct answer. You got SSH correct. Pat yourself on the back and give yourself a crisp high five. We are moving on. Question number 2. What is the primary purpose of a VLAN in a network? Now, I want to point this out as you're reading through the answers here and you're thinking to yourself, what the primary purpose of a VLAN is. This is typical of all CompTIA exams. They provide you acronyms. And their goal with acronyms is to, well, it's to confuse you. It's to make sure that you understand what the acronym stands for. And I'll point this out. It is my firm belief, 100% my firm belief, that if you know the acronyms in cyber and IT, it answers 40% of the questions for you. I firmly believe that. That's Chet's, that's my thinking across it. And I feel like learn the acronyms. When you're first learning acronyms and you see something like this, say the word and then the acronym every single time, and you'll pick it up like that. It won't take you that long. All right. So what is the primary purpose of the VLAN in a network? Well, it's not to increase the physical distance between network devices. I'm not even sure that's a thing. I don't know why we would want to increase the physical distance between network devices, but definitely not that. To reduce the number of collision domains, not to reduce the number of collision domains. That would be a switch, right? Where we want to use a switch instead of a hub. Do we even use hubs anymore? I think the last time I saw a hub was on a party or a competition, I should say, where somebody had the bright idea to bring a hub in to an environment, and they had 8 people plugged into it, and the competition was who can download the picture. While 8 people are on a hub, all trying to get into the same server at the same time. It was funny to watch. All right. That would lead us to C or D, either to segment a network into smaller, more manageable pieces, or to provide additional bandwidth to users. Well, it's not going to be D. To provide additional bandwidth to users is incorrect. VLANs does not do that. VLAN is a virtual local area network. That would mean to segment a network into smaller, more manageable pieces. We also use it for segmentation if you're in the security side of the house. It has some great properties to it, but C is going to be our correct answer for this one. And there you have it. There it is, C right there. Moving on, question number 3. Which protocol is commonly used for network time synchronization? Which protocol is commonly used for network time synchronization? And again, if you know the acronyms, this one answers itself. This is not a hard one. It's funny, a lot of times we go through and we point out these acronyms. We're like, hey, I was doing this with this. You know, being military, you could literally speak entire sentences with acronyms. So when I first got into cyber and IT, it was a little bit mind-blowing because I got in with the military, and the military has its acronyms, and then you throw IT acronyms on top of that, and it just becomes a whole another show to begin with. I wanted to say something else, but I'm trying to keep it clean, right? All right, let's tackle this one. Which protocol is commonly used for network time synchronizations? Well, we know it's not DNS, domain name systems, right? We know it's not domain name systems. Domain name systems provide us that telephone book from the IP address back into the name, right? So we know that, for instance, Amazon.com, we memorize that, but we don't memorize the IP address associated with that. The DNS does that for us, so we don't have to worry about that. So definitely not going to be D. That leaves A, B, and C. SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. If you know the acronym, you knew it was not SMTP. That leaves us with SMMP or NTP. Lots of P's on this one. Well, SMMP is Simple Network Management Protocol. I love how my Cali box just decided in the middle of my presentation to go out. Let's try this again, all right? So Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, that is not going to be the case. That is not going to do it for us. That means it must be the network timed protocol. And again, one of those questions where if you know the acronyms, it literally answers the question for you. And that is typical of CompTIA exams. There you go. It is C. All right, moving on. What is the main function of a router in a network? What is the main function of a router in a network? What do you think on this one? I'll give you some time. Well, it's not A. It's not going to amplify signals. While that is something that would technically do, definitely not the main function, right? We're not amplifying signals across the board. We're not going through and saying, hey, I got the signal from the internet over to your router. Would you mind amplifying it up for me and sending it where it needs to go? Well, it does do that. That is definitely not, in my find, the top 10. It's not even very close to that. Let's drop down to D. To connect multiple devices within a local network. Most routers don't do that, right? Or if they do, it's a secondary function. It's got extra ports on it. But that's definitely not the primary goal of that. If anything, I would say that would be a switch or a hub would be more in line with that as a primary goal. And maybe not the main function, but definitely in the top 2 or 3. That leaves to create broadcast domains or to forward packets between different networks. Well, if you answered B, you would be correct. To forward packets between different networks, it moves by taking the internet signal, which is considered to be a different network, and it forwards off into our network and vice versa. That would be the main functionality of a router, to forward packets between different networks. If you chose to create broadcast domains, while it does do that, and that is a portion of what it does, that is definitely not the main function. That's something it needs to do in order for communication to evolve within the router or within the system, assuming you have it set up correctly. So while it does create broadcast domains, definitely not the top or the main focus. Main focus is going to be B, to forward packets between different networks. And let's move on. Final question for today. Which of the following is a classless interdomain routing CIDR notation for a subnet with 255.255.255.0 subnet mask? This is one I feel like either you know it or you have no idea. This is one of those where it's like there's really no guessing, right? It's like either I know exactly what the answer is or I have no clue what the answer is. It's going to be one of the two. That's literally how this one has to play out. All right. So let's tackle this one. Which of the following is a classless interdomain routing CIDR notation for a subnet? Now, I want to point this out. I have taken exams before when I was first getting into IT and cyber, and I remember doing my exam, and I could not remember what an acronym was. And for the life of me, it was like racking my brain. I couldn't remember what the acronyms were. You know, you get stressed out. It was when I was a little baby IT guy, and I was taking the exam. And when I took the exam, I was like, okay, well, I think it's this. And what I did is I marked the question that I thought it was right. I went with my gut feeling because, again, you don't want to leave anything blank, right? And then on the top right-hand side, it's got this little flag on the test. And you click that little flag, and then at the end of the exam, it tells you you have this many flagged answers. Do you want to go back through them? And you can be like, yeah, I want to go back through this one. That way you don't have to go searching through the different answers, trying to figure out which ones that you couldn't really answer. And I remember this because literally 2 questions later, it spelled out the acronym for me. And so I want you to take that as a learning executive, right? If you take it from that perspective, if you don't know an acronym, you think you know what the answer is, right? Mark it, move on with your life, flag it, and then come back to it at the end of the exam. Or in my case, when they spell it out for you, you go back 2 questions and then you answer the proper one because it literally answers the question for you. All right, let's get this one, right? Which one is the raw information for a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0? Well, this one's easy. 255, it goes like this. This first one, if all 3 of these were zeros, then this would be a /8. If this one, the second to last and the last one are both zeros, then it's split across the middle. That would be a 16. If this one is gone, right, like 255, and only the 0 is the last one, then it's a slash 24. And there you have it. So this would be a slash 24 network because of the network mask, because again, 8, 16, 24. All right, that does it. That's it for today. I hope this was helpful. We're going to try to do more. I think I'm going to do Security Plus next, and then we'll do CYSA. I'm going to try to do it at least once a week. If you have questions, if you've got a question that you're like, hey, I would really like to answer this question, how would you solve this question? Send it my way, and let's see if we can't do that. All right. All right, that's it for today. For me, I am Dr. K. We will see you next time. Thank you so much for your time. If this was helpful, do me a favor and hit that like, subscribe, and little bell icon, and we'll see if we can't get you some more practice test questions. For that's it for today. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.